Can Saddam be effectively disarmed without war?
I think he's disarmed now. I think he's got anything.
What about the unaccounted for weapons? Chemical warfare?
I know. First I heard.
Concealment mechanism.
First of all, I heard of all these weapons, these chemical weapons, was last week. I was not. I've listened to Ritter talk, and I know Ritter's got his problems, but he seemed to me be fairly well up on his facts. And Ritter always maintained that sure there was some stuff left, but it wasn't enough to amount to a damn. So effectively, he's not a threat. And that's my understanding. Now let him tomorrow night.
We don't know that for a fact.
Excuse me?
That's not a fact. That's
Well, yeah, it is a fact, because look, I told you the kind of war we fight. You have an idea of how much power we have. What the heck is he going to do with these weapons? Suppose he's got an atomic bomb, and he even hints that he's going to do anything with it. You'll level the whole country. I mean, to me, that as an American, I'm 70 years old, that's what's so impressive to me, is that this is a different country. We make no bones about the fact that we'll wipe them out. So what purpose would he possibly have if he's got the weapons and using them? You tell me.
But he continues to develop some type of capability.
It's a question of what is he developing weapons? He lives in a neighborhood where everybody's got them. The Israelis have them. The Israelis have chemical weapons. The Israelis have biological weapons. Now, I don't know, but I assume the Syrians are also trying to get them. I'm sure the Egyptians are. I think you always have to put this thing into context. Is he trying to develop weapons so he can defend himself against the Iranians who hate him, against the Syrians who also don't like him, against all his neighbors, or is he trying to, or is he, as the president is presenting, a megalomaniac? I don't think he is. What the gentleman is referring to is the gassing of the Kurds, and although he hasn't mentioned it, specifically the incident at Halabja. Two things we know about Halabja. For those of you who don't know what Halabja is, it was an incident that occurred toward the end of the Iran-Iraq war in which civilian Iraqis, mostly Kurds, were killed with chemicals in a battle that occurred in the north of Iraq in the Kurdish territory.
Is this different from the Marsh Arabs?
Yeah,
Okay.
both. Those are Shias, Arabs.
Okay.
The two things we know about the Halabja incident, and it's interesting that whenever the incident is discussed in the United States or in Britain, these are always suppressed. These two facts. One, it was a battle. The implication is, whenever you read about it, that it was a wanton attack by the Iraqis on the Kurds because they were Kurds, and consequently it was genocide. It was not. It was a battle. The Kurdish group under Talabani Kurds, had sided with the Iranians and had enabled the Iranians to infiltrate the city of Halabja by night. In the morning, they burst from their hiding, they overwhelmed the garrison, they drove the Iraqis out. Now, that is much we definitely know. That occurred. The DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency here in the United States, did a study of what went on in that battle immediately after the battle occurred. And they concluded, on the basis of the condition of the bodies, that the Kurds were killed with a certain type of gas which the Iraqis did not have, but the Iranians did have. And therefore, they said that it was the Iranians that killed them. Now, that also is never mentioned whenever Halabja is discussed. I'm not taking a brief for the DIA. It's entirely possible the DIA cooked its analysis, that it's a phony study. But the point is the study exists. The United States government backed it at the time, and as a consequence, we never made much of the whole incident at Halabja until after the war. After the war, Halabja, the whole thing was retold, the whole story was retold. It became a genocidal attack, and today, if you talk to anyone, or if you read any account of that attack in the media, as I say, it's made out to be a case of genocide, and the business with the Iranians and the DIA is never mentioned. Because I was an intelligence officer at the time, because I worked with the DIA analysts that put that study together, and because they assured me that they were correct, I went along with them at the time, and I still go along with them.
What does it take to get a hold of that stuff?
You can't, it's classified.
You mentioned that it was Iranian gas that killed them, and yet you had just said a minute ago that they sided with Iran. So why?
The United States sided with Iraq.
The Kurdish group that had sided with Iran.
Oh,
The Kurdish
because
group
the
was killed.
town went back and forth,
Okay.
and both sides used gas. The Iraqis used mustard gas, and I believe the Iranians used a blood agent.
Okay.
So that was the basis, the determination.
So more or less they were killed in the crossfire.
You can't exonerate the Iraqis because they were using gas too.
Okay.
The only thing you can say is that this was a tragedy of war.
Okay.
It was not a deliberate case of genocide.